Okay, we are dedicated by Abi Spry and family for Nachas long term from all their children by Michal Avram Chavin for everyone to finish Shas with gesund, sound mind, sound body. We are holding by Rav Kahana, Rav Papa, Rav Ashi, which is 5 lines from the bottom of Daf Samach Zayin Amid Beis. 5 lines from the bottom of Daf Samach Zayin Amid Beis. Thank you very much, my friend. Good, excellent. Cold water is always good. We know that cold water is good because Torah is compared to Mayim. So if Torah is compared to Mayim, it has to be something very good. Same thing as Gedalia was telling me that he doesn't like any wife jokes because Torah is compared to a wife, right? It says that, Torah tziva lana Moshe Morasha Kilas Yaakov Al Tikrei Morasha Ela Ma'orasa. So we see that Torah is compared to a wife. So if a Torah is compared to a wife, then a wife has to be very, very, very good. And if a wife isn't good, it's most of the time our fault. That's the meaning of Zocha Nasa Loy Ezer, Loy Zocha Nasa Kenegda. It's up to us what we make out of it. So says the Gemara, Rav Kahana v'Rav Papa v'Rav Ashi loy achlei b'nachyasa. In the event that they gave a loan to Mark, and Mark gave them a mashkin and said that they could have the produce and deduct a small amount from the loan every year, they would not eat because for a tzurban rabbanon, it was not fitting because since they took more fruit than the deduction, it looks like ribbis. However, Ravina, who played down his stature and he didn't behave like a Talmudic scholar, he didn't want to take the ears of a Talmudic scholar, so Ravina achel b'dach yasa. Ravina would eat the fruit with such a deduction. Amar Marzutra, so Marzutra says, my time of demand achel b'nach yasa. What's the rationale? If I give Mark isn't here right now, so I give Shalom. If I give Shalom a loan of $1,000, he gives me collateral, and I harvest the fruit with a small deduction from the loan every year. What's the rationale for that? I mean, I'm taking more fruit than the deduction. So my timer demand achel b'nach yasa. So they make a very interesting analogy. Midei dahavi asteich achuza. They make an analogy to a case where, let's say Yitz dedicates to the temple his ancestral field. Now the law is if he dedicates his ancestral field to the temple, Mel could redeem the field up to Yovel. And there's a formula that he could redeem the area where you plant a kur of barley for 50 sloim till Yovel, which is basically a seller and a pidyon per year. Now he has this on loan, because at Yovel he has to return it to Ekdish. And he's paying just a paltry sum of a seller opinion a year, and he's getting a lot more fruit. So you see that we have such an arrangement. Says, the whole year, he's eating a lot of produce. Amar Rahman, he gets it for a seller. A seller is 4 zuz. Kaparakla, he gets the crops for the whole year. Ba'arba zuzeh. So hachanami lo yishna. I give Shalom a paltry deduction, and I get the fruit. Omanda Aser, and the one that asks and doesn't accept this analogy, Amalach, that's different. Stay achuza hektishi. An ancestral field is hektish. A hektish can give a law of pidyon, a law of redemption. It's not a loan. V'rachmana ukmei pidyon, and the Torah gave this amount for redemption. But hacha halvoi, I gave him a loan. And if he's giving me a huge amount of fruit for a paltry deduction of the loan, that's ribbis. Umirzik ribbis. It looks like ribbis. I made a bracha already, Rabbi Yisai. Just getting underway over here. 4 lines from the top of Daf Samachez Samad Aleph. Amar Rav Ashi, Amru li Sabei de Masa Mechasya. The elders of Masa Mechasya told me, Stam Mashkanto Shata. Without any specifications, a collateral has to stay a year. Says the Gemara, what does that mean? Well, not Manai Mafkamina. So again, I gave Shalom a loan of $10,000 and he gave me a field. Now, when he pays me the $10,000, he could tell me to vamoose from the field. He could evict me from the field. But Sabi, the Mas Machasya says, he can't evict me before a year is up. So I could, any arrangement of fruit that I made with him, I could keep for a year. And that's what the Gemara says. If I already had it for a year and he pays the loan, Matzi Misalakla, he could evict me from the field. But if I didn't have it for a year, Matzi Misalakla, he can't evict me from the field. Another lesson from the elders of Pumpadi, of Masa Mechasya, excuse me, V'amar Rav Ashi, Amruli Sabei de Masa Mechasya, the elders of Masa Mechasya told me, my mashkanta, what's the etymology of the word mashkanta? Why is collateral called mashkanta? So the Gemara says, Dishchuna Gabei, because it dwells by him. That means if Shalom gave me his field, it dwells by me. L'may nafkamina. Oh, let's say Shalom wants to sell the field. The din is that the bar metzra, this is a din in real estate, that if Shalom wants to sell the field, he has to sell it to a neighbor first. Because for a neighbor, it's a benefit to have one field next to another field. There's no greater bar mitzvah than me, because now I have it as collateral. And that if he's going to sell the field, he has to offer it to me first. Amar Rava, here, this is an example of what's so hard about Ezel Neshech. We have one-liners that need a lot of explanation. So Amar Rava, les hilchas aloi ketar shei parpanai. The halacha is not like the dumb with, of course, quotation marks, but the halacha is not like the arrangement of Rav Papa, v'loi kishtore mechuznai, nor like the documents of mechuzah, v'loi kichakire narshoi, nor like the tenant-farmer arrangements or lease arrangements of narshoi. And now we're going to explain what each of them is. What does it mean that the halacha is not kitar shei papanai? Kitar shei de Rav Papa. If you remember, Rav Papa was a beer merchant. And Rav Papa, the price of beer in Tishrei was cheap. And it went up in value in Nisan when it was way after the harvest. Now, Baruch would come to Rav Papa in Tishrei and want to buy beer. So Rav Papa would tell Baruch, you don't have to pay me till Nisan, but you have to give me the higher price of Nisan. Now Rav Papa reasoned that it should be permitted for him because his beer doesn't spoil, so he could keep it till Nisan and sell it then, and he's not hard up for the money. He's a rich man. And therefore he felt okay to charge Baruch the inflated price. However, the Gemara says that the halacha is not like Rav Papa, because it's taking advantage of Baruch. If Baruch would have the money now, he could have got it at the cheaper price now. The fact that Rav Papa had to wait for the money, he's charging the higher price because he had to wait for the money. That's agar noter. So the halacha is not like Rav Papa. What does it mean? Shtarei mechuznoi. Shtarei mechuznoi is the following arrangement. Let's say I give, I need an entrepreneur over here. Is Eddie here? Yeah. Yeah, look at that. He's still in Atlanta. I can't believe it. The same cell room in Atlanta. I recognize the light over there, hanging there.
I'm in Theater, Alabama today.
You're in Alabama now?
Yeah.
Wow, I thought it was the same light that you had in Atlanta.
It could be. Yeah, but maybe.
Is it the same hotel chain?
It's Marriott, but it's a different brand.
Uh-huh. Wow, I wouldn't have known. It got too hot for you in Atlanta, huh? That's
hotter in Alabama.
That's the life. I'm talking about a different heat. That's the life of the people that live like Eddie. They have to be always on the run. So anyway, so I should have known that he even stays, with the same light to throw people off his scent. I know, don't worry, Eddie, we really don't believe you're in Alabama, don't worry. But anyway, he's probably in Colombia or somewhere. But Lamaisa is, the arrangement of the people of Mechuzah is that I would give Eddie, I would give Eddie $100, and the idea would be is that we would split the profit, and we would assess that he's going to make with this $100 another $100. So I write a star for 150. The 100 plus the profit of 50. And the idea would be is that that he gets to keep 50 of the profit, and I get to keep 50 of the profit. The problem is, as the Gemara says, the Zokfele L'Ravcha Akarna, they write up the profit together with the principal, so the 100 plus the 50, because V'lei B'shtara, and they write it in the document. The problem is, let's say he doesn't make profit, or let's say he only makes $20 profit, 20 plus 20, only 40, so he only makes 20. So then the extra 30 that he's giving me is interest on the fact that I advanced him the $100. Mi yemer davi rafcha, because who says that there's going to be profit? Amalei Mar bar Ameimer l'Rav Ashi. So Mar, the son of Ameimer, said to Rav Ashi, Abba Ovid Hachi, my father did this. He added on the profit. However, when the merchant came back, if he didn't make the profit, he believed him. And then he didn't take the 50. He only took what his portion of the profit was. V'chi asel the kamei, when the merchant came back, mehemen lo. So Amalei Rav Ashi told Mar bar Ameimer, Teina cheichadi yisei, that's good where your father is around. But v'ishachiv, if he passes away, v'nofel shtara kamayasmei, and the star falls before the Yasim, he won't know in order to be moichel him and ask him, did you make the 50? Mayave. what's going to be then? Now, the fact that he said, if your father dies, we have to be very careful, because bris krusa lisvasayim. We have a covenant with our mouth, and we say, al tiftach peh l'satan. Don't open your mouth to the satan. So havi kishkoga sheyotzim lifnei hashalit. It was like an error that came out from the ruler. We know tzaddik goyzer v'akadosh baruch hu mekayim, and Amemer passed away. V'noch nafshei da Amemer. What's chakirei narshoi? What's the tenant farmers of narshoi? So here's this is a wild case. Shalom is over here. He needs the money very badly. And he needs the $100,000. And he doesn't mind working it out that he gives me extra for that $100,000. He just needs the $100,000. So what does Shalom do? I give him $100,000, and he gives me a very expensive field. But Shalom wants to work the field. So then he leases it back to me with a chakiris arrangement that he'll give me 50 bushels every year. So in essence, he's giving me 50 bushels a year interest. But he cloaked it with a field. You think Shalom is such a passionate fellow? You understand how clever that is? He gives me collateral, a piece of land. Remember, I gave him a $100,000 loan. He gives me collateral, a piece of land, but he wants to work the land. So then he leases it back, and he pays me, as a tenant farmer, 50 bushels a year. So basically what he's doing is he's giving me 50 bushels interest per year for the $100,000 loan. And therefore the Gemara says that this is not cricket, as they say in, the UK. Charkirei narshoy, the kosvei hach, mishken le planya, are le planya. Rabbi Weiss received collateral. Well, actually, Shalom gave Rabbi Weiss collateral. V'hader chokra minei, and then afterwards he leased it from him. So the Gemara says, why doesn't this work? Because it looks like he's just keeping his field and paying me 50 bushels a year. Amos Kana, when did I acquire the field, the Akniye Nahale, that I then transferred it back to him? However, the Gemara says they wanted to make it more kosher by writing as follows. Va'idna, today, the Kakosvei Hachi, they wrote as follows. Kanina Mine, I acquired the field from Shalom. Vishahina Kama Idne, and I kept it for a while by me to make it look kosher v'yosher. And then the Hadar Chakra, and then he leased it. And this should be allowed because otherwise people won't give $100,000 loans. And loans is the grease of business. Loans is the lubrication of business. In order that the door shouldn't be shut before prospective borrowers. So the Gemara says, then shaper dummy. Then it would be good. However, the Gemara says, V'la milsi. No, even then it's no good. Because essentially what Shalom is doing, he's playing backwards and forwards with his piece of property, and he's really only giving me ribbis of 50 bushels of wheat every year. Okay, now Rabbi Isai, which by the way, I want to tell you that after we learn tonight's stuff, we just have 6 baht left in Ezel Neshech. It's a huge accomplishment, a huge accomplishment. Tell you the truth, after finishing Hazav and Ezel Neshech, I have a feeling to make a siyum. We want to welcome in Gershon Brody and Richard Rosenzweig, who have just joined us. I mean, not just, but who are joining us as well this evening, plus David Helfgott, who's joining us. Now, 26 Zoomers here, B'Gematria Yud K Vav K. Now, says the next Mishnah talks about what is called Iska. Iska is a business deal. And let me tell you, I'm going to do some business now with Shelley. Here's Shelley, here's the deal. I advance Shelley $1,000. And with that $1,000, he goes and purchases chess sets. And he sells them, and he makes $2,000. So he returns my original capital of $1,000, and we split the profit 500 and 500. Now, the arrangement is, if there's a loss, we split the loss. So that if Shelley goes and buys chess sets and nobody buys them because they're into pickleball now, they're not into chess, and nobody buys them, and all he's left with at the end of the day is $800. So then we split the loss. And that is that of the 1,000, he only has to return me 900. We split the loss. Since the loss was 200, we split that loss. Now this is called mechza schar, mechza hefsid. We split the profit, we split the loss. This arrangement is also called mechza halva mechza pikad, meaning that of the 1,000, 500 is a deposit by him. And therefore, from the deposit that he has, I keep the profit of that deposit. That's why I get half the profit. And the other half is a loan to him, which he'll return, and he keeps the profit of that loan. Now, so far, it sounds straightforward. The problem why an iska is usher is because he is managing my pikadon for me as a interest on me advancing him the loan. Otherwise, why is he managing my part and making me a profit? So then that's not kosher, because he's managing my 500 and making me a profit because I advanced him 500 so that he can make a profit. So in order for iska to be allowed, I have to give him a managing fee. And that's going to be the yesod of this Mishnah. Let's see it inside. Is that clear to everybody? Okay.
The service, he just shows you the service, he's providing a service. That's in lieu of money. That he, in other words, the owner is getting the service, and that's the ribbis.
That would be the ribbis.
That would be the ribbis. Okay.
So now, Ein moishiven chenveni lemachzit schar. I can't give Shelley merchandise and split the profit with the merchandise. Because again, because I gave him a loan of half of the merchandise, he's managing my half of the merchandise. V'lo yitin mais, nor could I advance him money, likach b'hem peiros, to buy cheseds or potatoes, l'machzis schar, to split the profit. Elim ke noisin lo yischaroi, unless I give him a managing field, kapayel, like a worker. We'll see what kind of a worker. Similarly, ein moishivin tarnegolim, I cannot I cannot have him incubate my eggs, right? I give him the eggs for him to put his hen upon it, and he's responsible for the loss of the hen, of the eggs, and we're going to share the profit. I can't assess calves or foals and have him be responsible for half of their loss, and he will get half of the profit, because then he's managing my part for the advance that I gave him of 50% of the calves and the foals, unless I give him a managing fee, and the feed. However, but he could accept for me calves and foals if he's not responsible for them. So then there's no loan over here. He's just a worker. You could accept the calves and foals, lamachza, and we'll split the profit. Now, when I give it to him, for him to raise them, son, this is just an aside, when I give it to him that he should raise them, and then he gives it back to me and I sell them. So to what point does he have to raise them? He has to raise them until they're a third of their maturity. The chamar, and he has to break in a donkey until they're able to hold the load. Now, this has nothing to do with this ensuing Gemara, but I have to tell you this story. Staten Islanders, of course, will remember Mr. Hershkowitz, Olav Shalom. We had the zechiyah that Mr. Hershkowitz davened by us in our 8 o'clock minyan in the Aguda for many years. Irving, you remember that?
I used to pick him up.
You used to pick him up.
Yeah.
He was a Holocaust survivor who lost 44 relatives. You know, this is appropriate for Yomi HaShaya. He lost 44 relatives in the Shaya, and then I used to tell him that that's communion dam. And then he lost Nebuch, someone here. So it was 45. So he told me something, it's one of the most riveting stories. I remember I used to feel that it was such a zechiyah for the Aguda that he davened by us in the morning. I really felt such a merit davening with him. He says that when it came close to them being taken in the cattle cars, so he said that his father, Olav Shalom, had animals, and when they were very young, he would give them to this guy who would do exactly this. He would raise them and break them in until they were ready, then he would give it back and he would sell them. And he had this farm in the middle of nowhere, up on a hill. So one day this guy, he was a real guy, said, Mr. Hershkowitz, he said to his father, Olav Hashem Yinkum Damai, he said, look, you have a strapping young lad over here. We all know what's happening. Give him to me, and I'll have him work on the farm. They won't take him away. You'll save his life. So the father said to him, will you give him kosher? He says, absolutely not. Then we'll be sent to Auschwitz. It has to be like all the farmhands. He says, will you make him work on Shabbos? He said, he has to be exactly like everybody else. So he said, then he's coming with me. I'm not leaving my child to be brought up as a guy. So he was taken to Auschwitz, together with his father and mother. They came to the line, and Mengele Yamach Shemam sent him, he was young, to the right, and the father and the mother to the left. So the mother started screaming that she's not leaving her child. So Mengele told the guard, they had a dumpster, they picked up his mother, the dumpster was on fire. They picked up his mother and threw her straight into the fire. So Mr. Hershkowitz turned to his father and he says, Tata, look at the mama. So his father says, my son, this is the last thing he remembers that his father ever told him. Then his father went to his death. My son, hold stark to the Yiddishkeit. And this is the Nazi beast, Simach Shemam V'Zichram, the Deira and Eilam. And what came from the Hershkowitz family, such wonderful families, the Bram family, the Hershkowitz family, the Snyder family, there's so many beautiful families from this family. Anyway, this Gemara reminds me of that story. So the Gemara now says, bottom line of Daf Samaches Amud Aleph, you never know what you're going to hear at this shir. He's gone already a while. Reuven, he's gone a while, no? It's more than 10 years? More than 10 years. Yeah. Tana kipoyel bottle. When it says that the managing fee that you have to give Shelley, I have to give Shelley, that it shouldn't be considered like a halva, I have to give him like a poyel bottle, like an idle worker. So the Gemara says, my poyel bottle. What does it mean, an idle worker? As we turn yet another page in Ezel Nashach. My poyel bottle. Amar Abaya kepoyel bottle shel oisa malach. So Shelley is a social worker. How much would he agree to take less to not do what he's doing and do the easier job of being my managing partner? And that's what I have to pay. Kepoyel bottle shel oisa malach the bottom. Now, says the Gemara, we needed two cases where I advance Shelley potatoes, or I advance him money to buy the potatoes. V'tzricha, you have to say both. Itana chenveni who desagilei kepoyel bottle. It's why it's enough for me to pay him that small amount, not the full value of a managing partner. Mishum deloy nafesh tircha. I gave him the potatoes. There's not much work to do. He has to go out early in the morning to the farm and to buy the papers. You have to pay like a full managing director. Why? Mishum de nafesh tircha, there's a lot of work. It's enough for me to give him a pittance. As the Gemara will say, one opinion is, even if I give him a share of my bread dipped in brine, or I give him a snack of dry figs, that's enough. That it shouldn't be considered interest, tzricha, that's not enough. Now, Tan Rabbanan, three-way machlokes of how much I have to pay Shelley that this arrangement of mechza schar, mechza hefzid shouldn't be considered that which he manages my part is interest on advancing him his 50%. Kamhu scharai, bein meruba bein me'ut. You could give a lot, you could give a little, divrei meir. Rabbi Yehuda says even a pittance, just that it shouldn't be considered ribbis. Rabbi Yehuda, I feel like tovali mayel b'tzir, even if I don't just dip bread with him in brine. I give him some dried fig snack. Zeu schara. Reb Shimon ben Yochai says, "Nice like schara mishalom." I have to give him full managing fee. Tana Rabbanan. Avi Davidowitz is joining us now. Rabbi Avi Davidowitz, it's great to have you. I just also want to tell the Eilam that Mitzvah Hashem, the Seder Halayla will be that after we finish the daf, we'll count Svira, and then we'll do the Mishnah Yomis. Svira, and then the Mishnah Yomis. We're learning Saita now. Tan Rabbanan. Ein shamin loyes or izim v'loyes rechelim. I can't evaluate goats or sheep, v'loy kol davar she'ena oisa v'oichel, or anything else that doesn't work for its feed, lemechza, for an arrangement of 50%, unless I give Shelley a managing fee. Rabbi Yehuda says, what do you mean? To offset the fact that I advanced Shelley, to offset the fact that Shelley is managing my 50%, I'm letting Shelley keep the milk. I'm letting Shelley keep the wool. So therefore, Rabbi Yehuda is shamanes izim mipnei shecholvais, because it gives milk. There's a rechelim and the sheep mipnei shegoizes. He could share the wool. V'shaitfais, and the wool comes off when he brings it through the water, or martais, and he could pluck off the wool. That's hatarnegailis, and also hens, to incubate them on the eggs, because we'll see that Shelley could keep the addled eggs. Those are the eggs that never develop. Says the Gemara, I don't understand why. Why would the Tanakama argue on Rabbi Yehuda? I mean, if Shelley could keep the milk and the wool, that's very good to offset the fact that he's managing my part and it shouldn't be interest. The Tanakama, giza v'chalav, the wool and the milk, loy sipek l'schar amoloy u'mazaynai, that's not enough for his work and the feed. Says the Gemara, no. If I let him keep the milk and the wool, nobody argues. But I'm not a naive businessman. I'm not letting Shelley. I'm not letting Shelley keep the milk and the wool. I'm only letting him keep the way of the milk and the stuff that shears off by itself, poultry stuff. Keep pligibin where I let him keep the whey and just the extra wool that falls off. Now, the Tanakama says that's not enough, because in order to offset the ribbis that he's managing my part because I advanced him 50%, it's not enough a mere token, and the way and the pluckings, that's a mere token. While Rabbi Yehuda Savla Kavua, he holds like his father, Rabbi Yehuda. Even if he only dips brine with him, or he only gives him a fig snack, that's enough to offset the ribbis. Now, Tan Rabbanan. Maskeres isha lechaverta tarnegelis. A woman could rent her hen and say, my hen will incubate your eggs, but she's not taking any responsibilities for the eggs. So it's a straight rental. So she says, my hen will incubate your eggs, b'shnei efroichen, for 2 chicks. So that's a straight rental. Now, Isha she'ama lechaverta, a woman tells her friend, Suri tells Leah, Tarnegola shali, the hen is mine. Obeyim shalichi, and the eggs are yours. Va'ani va'at nachloik be'efroich, and I and you will split the chicks. And that's already. If there's a loss, we'll split the loss. If there's a profit, we'll split the profit. So that means that here we have a problem of her managing it and taking the advance of the eggs. For her advance of the eggs, she's giving her the management of the iska. Rabbi Yehuda matter. We'll see Rabbi Yehuda allows it because Rabbi Yehuda holds that the managing partner gets to keep the addled eggs, the eggs that don't develop. Rabbi Shimon Aser says the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda loy schar amaloi mazayim. Rabbi Yehuda doesn't need there to be payment. Ikabeyim mazaris. Now this is again Rabbi Yehuda L'Shitasai, who says even a small payment like Tova Pitoi Betzir is enough. So even the addled eggs, even though it's a small payment, it's enough. Now, in a case where I gave Shelley animals to break in, it's not enough that I pay him kapaya. You see, if I give him young animals, he has to cart the animals back and forth. In a place where the minig is to pay also a porter's fee, it's called a shoulderer's fee, then I have to give it to him. Because if I don't give it to him, then it's like interest for managing my half. I'm waiving the porter's fee. So Mokum Shinogu Lahaloi Schar Kosef. In minig, if the place is at minig to pay the porter's fee, lemois lebehema, for an animal malin. The ain mishanim minig amadini. You can't change that. You can't say, you know what, Shelley can't say, you know, Rabbi, I like you, I'll waive it. No, you can't waive it. Because if he waives it, then that's interest on the fact that I advanced him the 50% that he's making profit with. Shimon Gamliel says a metzias here. If I give him a calf with its mother, and I give him a foal with its mother, then I don't have to give him a managing fee, and I don't have to give him a porter's fee. I don't have to give him a porter's fee because the animal will be taken by the mother. I don't have to give him a managing fee because the work of the mother will offset the fact that he's managing for me. Shaman egel imay v'syachim imay v'afilu b'makom nagu l'halas schar kosef l'mois. Even if normally there's a porter's fee, you don't have to pay the porter's fee because the animal will go with the mother. You don't have to carry it. Says the Gemara, Reb Shimon Gamliel loy boy schar amol loy mazaynai. Says the Gemara, the dung of the mother, which is used for fertilizer, is enough for a managing fee. Ika glolim. The idach, the other one holds, glolim afkurei mafkelu. People are mafker the dung. So that's not considered a fee to offset the ribbis of the advance that I'm giving Shelley the 50% profit. We did it, Rabbi Say. Another daf in the books. We're going to now sell Sfira, L'Shem Yichud Kutsha B'Richu Shchintei, B'Tchilu Rechim L'Yachid Shem Yudkei B'Vavkei B'Yichud Shem Shem Kol Yisrael, Hin Neimuchon U'Mezum L'Kayim Mitzvah Aseh Shel Sfira Saimer, K'moi Shekosav HaTorah Sfartim L'Chem Imachas HaShabbos, Miyayim Aviyachem Esayim HaTanufa Shev Shabbos Tmim Eskiyana, Ad memachas HaShabbos HaShviyas Tisbu Chamishim Yayim V'kraftem Mincha Chadash Al Adonai B'nai Marino Eleinu Elein Ma'is Yadeinu Kainen Eleinu U'Ma'is Yadeinu Kainen Eyo Baruch Ato Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam Asher Kiddishanu B'mitzvaysav V'tzivanu Al Sfiras HaOmer Hayom arba'a asar yom shehem shnei shavuos la'omer.